This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Legendary episode 153 for December 5th, 2013. We got Gary watching Gamebreaker coming off on the show tonight. We got World of Warcraft movie news, Datamined mounts, and gear. We're going to talk a lot about gear. We dissect the discussion that's going on the forums. All that and more. First, joining us from WoW Insider, Zam, right here on Gamebreaker TV from her secret Southern California lair. It's Olivia D. Grace. It's yellow this week.
I'm trying to mix it up for you guys. Like, you know, what can I say? That's what's going on here.
I was getting so cozy with the blinds, the white blinds.
You like the blinds? Yeah. Oh, you like the blinds? Maybe I should go back to the blinds. I'll drag the laptop back over to sitting on the floor in front of the blinds.
And joining us as well from Convert to Raid, and now in video right here on Gamebreaker TV, it's Pat KRANE from Convert to Raid. How are you?
That's right. That's right. Hello, Gary. It is effing cold in Minnesota. I just want to let you know that.
Did you just slip into Coltrane for a second?
I do that. You know, it's kind of weird. It is, and plus, this is not just hot cocoa. That's all I'm saying.
Oh.
So there. I got to warm up on the inside. Yeah,
I hate when I do a show with him. I love doing a show with him, and I hate it because I want to talk like him.
It's kind of we go off each other a lot. He usually does that a lot more than I do on Convert to Raid, but occasionally I do slip into it. I can't help it. It's one of those things.
And joining us as well from Gamebreaker TV, from what looks like a Steven Spielberg war flick.
And his mic is out.
And his mic
and his mic is out.
Good job. Well, wait.
He's not even there now. This is just getting better and better. I'm basically doing an audio show this week because the video quality is so bad with this current modem router setup that I have. So I can't see anybody. So Gary can troll me by putting my face in videos and I won't even know.
Oh,
right.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, things I shouldn't have told Gary Gannon. That.
What can I do?
I don't know what my video quality is like for you guys, but you're just stationary. Really?
Yeah, it's good. Fine. It's awesome.
I'm really glad.
Your audio and video quality is definitely better than Mike's audio quality. That's for sure.
Well, that's not surprising. That's kind of part of the course, right?
He's just gonna
hear you well enough. He's
gonna pantomime all of his answers.
Is he doing charades? Because if he is, I can't see him, so that's going to be a problem tonight.
Am I allowed to say charades instead of charades? Am I allowed to as an American? Can I say charades?
You can play charades. I guess you can play charades. I'll play charades.
Right.
I really want to play charades. I don't like charades.
You have to play charades. You have to play charades, and then you play a shaman.
Yes.
So.
Or you could play charades, which was specifically shaman charades.
As shaman charades, yes.
I'm just loving this weight, Nick.
I have literally no idea what's happening with Mike Chapman. He's like, you know, those magic.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. He's just
do you remember those magic eyes?
He's pushing the buttons and he's moving around and he's deep in thought. He's like staring.
Check your audio preferences.
This is like legendary for the partially sighted. It's like Gary's the guy who stands there and describes what's going on for me because basically, if you remember those magic eye posters, that's what you all look like. Fortunately, my audio seems to be working.
How's that mug there, Pat KRANE?
Oh, it's good. It is tasty. I'm not going to tell you what's inside it because I don't want to make you jealous.
It's a big one.
But it is a winter warmer. That is what it is.
Nice. I am trying to get chat room up on my phone chat room if you're listening. I'm trying to get you off on my phone because I don't want to like make this any worse by having chat room running on my computer.
Right. I
I
feel for you,
Mike
man.
Shafton's having a cocktail this evening.
This is about all I can do. I don't know.
Hey, there he is.
It's the internal laptop mic. You'll probably hear a fan, but I don't know what's going wrong. I've unplugged it,
Plug the mic into the jack. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
There we go. Oh, look, I can see. Look. Wait for the volume to go away. Look how good the video is on my phone. I can see you guys on my phone. So I'm just going to do this.
Technology is fantastic.
Technology is amazing. I can see you, finally. It makes me so happy. You're so clear on my phone.
Oh, that's funny.
Is it on your phone?
The phone is fine. The computer sucks. That's awesome.
I feel like I should take a picture of the computer with my phone to show you just how bad this is.
Tweet it, and then I'll put it on the show.
Okay, hold on. This seems like the way to go about doing this. I am actually going to do this.
We actually don't have a show tonight. We have nothing to talk about.
No, it's just all of us
do this for about 40 minutes.
Right, I was going to say this is the best open to this show I think that we've ever had.
No, the pre-show. Yes. The pre-show is better. I gotta say the pre-show.
Yes, sometimes the pre-show is better.
You're welcome, live people.
And sometimes the post-show is really incredibly funny.
I think this video that I played in pre-show might have to get posted to Game Breaker because the entire chat room wants the link to it. I might just have to post it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What did you post?
Oh, just something.
Oops.
Just
something.
Cool. Just something.
That sounds exciting.
Right. Let's get the show on the freaking road, Mike Shafton. Seriously. What we got?
God, Mike.
All right, so we got a bideva. We got a bideva. It's kind of like a bidet, but it's a bideva.
Uh-huh.
You gotta wipe yourself when you're done. No. We got a bit of sad news that dropped right before Thanksgiving. Most of the people watching this show, I'm sure, have already heard this, but Ghostcrawler, GC, King of the Beat, rocking up and down the street. It's GC, King of the Beat. Is making his exit. He's doing his last head spin. His last pop rock, but he's out. He's leaving Blizzard. I don't. So obviously he's in a position that he gets a lot of flack from players and stuff because when things change, they're just like, "Oh my God, Mr. Greg Street, you breaking my game," because he's the one in charge and he's the face and he's the one we all know. But this is pretty sad news. I mean, what do you guys think?
It's really sad. No matter what you think of the guy, whether there's loads of people going, "Oh, good riddance, he completely ruined the world of Warcraft." He's one of a team of people who make this game. And B, he was such a great person for just being a link between the fans and the developers. He started being on the forums a lot at the, I think it was Wrath Beta. And he was really sort of out there, happy to talk to people, happy to communicate. And it's a real loss to the community more than anything of having that person who's actually right centrally within the dev team to actually talk to. That's a huge deal to me. And even if you didn't like the changes he made, then you're still losing a line of communication straight to the dev team of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and he was the voice. I mean, he was really the voice of the entire WoW dev team for a number of years, especially in the last, year or so when he got his Twitter account. And we've all had a lot of fun with that. And now they've actually retired Ghostcrawler, the @Ghostcrawler Twitter
Have they
account.
really?
And now, and now he is. Yeah. Now he's under Occupy G Street, which is awesome.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's under Occupy G Street. It's awesome.
Wow, that's
for sure.
King of the Beat.
Wow, King of the Beat. I know. I mean, we just it's been in more recent the past year or two, and when we really started talking to those guys a lot more and interviewing Greg, and I loved. I got to say that one thing, interviewing him about the game. I think the coolest thing is that there were nothing was off limits. Because I'll be honest, when we first started interviewing them, I just said to them, are there any rules to this interview? Do we have to? He's like, nope, ask me whatever you want to ask me. And I was like, wow,
it was really cool.
Wow, okay, cool. Let's get this on. So it was cool. He was just being really candid. If he couldn't answer something, he didn't answer something. If he could, he did it to the best of his ability. And it's gonna be weird not really being able to talk about the G Street anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just I don't know. He's a really nice guy. Like, you all met him at BlizzCon as well, right? Like, everyone on this show got to hang out with him at BlizzCon. He's just like so approachable. Like, he really cares. He's just like an awesome dude. And it's a real shame. Wherever he's going is lucky to have him. He's a fantastic asset for Blizzard. I don't know what they're going to do to replace him.
That's what I think. What's honestly so sad. I think that a lot of players have, the issue of Ghostcrawler, the ghostly crab that nerfed my class. But when you actually get in a situation where you can talk to the guy, like BlizzCon, both 2 years ago and this year, really, and then the interviews that we've done here, just the more you actually got to interact with him on a personal level, the more I grew a lot of respect for him and realized that he wasn't just a singular enemy who was hurting druids by putting a nerf on Cyclone. It wasn't just him. He's like, and as Olivia said, he is a really good guy, and I think that it's sad to see him go. Whoever's going to pick him up is going to be lucky to have him.
Yeah, for sure.
I almost think. I mean, what do you guys think? But whoever's going to take his place, do you think they're just going to like thrust him right in the limelight and be like, hey, because Ghostcrawler was the most like visible, vocal sort of person that everybody knows. So it's like, to fill his role, are they just going to be like, all right, you're it, go?
That's kind of what they've done. I mean, they've already put somebody in the limelight, and they've put Celestalon. That's the guy's name on Twitter and on the forums. Celestalon is one of the systems designers. He's not necessarily the replacement for Greg Street. He is just one of the systems designers, which means that he's into a lot of different.
He's a technical game designer, I think, is his specific title. But I know he's heavily involved in specifically like class mechanics and like a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today with the gear changes and things is really like he is really, really heavily involved in all of that kind of stuff. He's very tight on the technical side of things. So in all honesty, he's probably a better target for your QQing about classes than Greg ever was.
It is true. Has Greg left already? Is he already gone?
I was trying to confirm that earlier. I think his
last day is. I think his last. He's. Didn't he tweet that he was going at the end of this week?
I think.
Or did I miss? Yeah. Did I misread that?
I didn't see it, but I believe that that's right. Yes.
I believe. Yeah.
If he wants to speak on the open forum, he's always got a seat here to come in.
Yeah.
And do maybe a last interview.
Wow, can you imagine like his tell-all dish the dirt on Blizzard video?
Kind of like an exit video, or kind of like an exit interview from Blizzard. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be great. I love it. Who knows? He's probably got a clause in his contract. I would imagine leaving that he can't. So totally.
Yeah, I'd say
hold
no.
your breath, internet on that anything.
Yeah,
of the sort.
Here we go. Greg's last day is tomorrow. Says Laura in chat.
Okay. Tomorrow. Well, I'm putting it out there. If he wants to come on and chat for one last time, I'd love to have him on. So we'll see. All right, let's move on and talk about some World of Warcraft. So the biggest news this week: World of Warcraft movie actors popped up yesterday. So first off, the film was pushed back. It's kind of like this got a little bit of clips. This kind of like went slightly under the radar for a lot of people.
When hasn't it been?
Yeah.
Just
How
saying.
is this views?
You got a point.
With very good reason, though. I mean, with very good reason. So they pushed it back from, it was going to be, they said late 2015 was originally the date. Now they're saying early 2016. And I mean, the reason is they don't want to clash with the Star Wars movies that was announced at the same time.
Yeah, really. Like,
so you kind of don't want to really try and,
you don't want to take Star Wars
fantasy
on.
Movie. Yeah, take Star Wars on.
Which is the exact opposite strategy when it comes to the video game side of things. Anytime that Star Wars has done anything, they go, right, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Like in the equation of video games, Warcraft is Star Wars. Like in the equation of movies, Star Wars is Star Wars is Warcraft. Like you're not going to take that on and win. It's like taking on a freight train with a bicycle. It's it's still like Warcraft's still a huge franchise that has a ton of fans, but it's not Star Wars. Right. And it's kind of like you said, it's the same sort of, like it's not the same genre exactly, but it's the same kind of overall genre, I guess.
I mean, they're both, they're gunning for that big popcorn movie, that's for sure.
Yeah. Star Wars also spans 3 or maybe even 4 generations, which World of Warcraft does not. I think World of Warcraft, you could maybe say is 2.5. And I think that plays a big factor into it. You're going to get you're going to get the people who grew up with the original trilogy. You're going to get the kids who grew up on the new trilogy. You're going to get us who were in the in-betweens. And then you're also going to get the kids who are enjoying, Star Wars right now. So it's just, you don't take on Star Wars.
So far we got to hear about in this. So Ben Foster from 6 Feet Under. That's Mr. Ben Foster. Travis Fimmel, Paula Patton, Toby. Is it Keeble or Keble? I don't know if it's Keeble or Keble.
No idea.
Really no idea.
Keebler Elves.
Keebler Elves and Rob Kaczynski. I don't know. What do you guys think of the picks? They're picking a lot of like sort of, lesser known peeps. I mean, they've all got pretty decent resumes, but there's no like, we had heard grumblings of like Colin Farrell and things like that, which still could possibly happen. Yep. I mean, it's only like 4 or 5 people here, so we could still see some real big A-listers come up in the near future. But what did you guys think of this list?
It's not bad. It's it's kind of interesting because all of these guys have some really big action movie background. So I think that they're fairly solid choices in that they might be playing maybe not the main character, but they'll be playing something that is a key player anyway. I think that could be kind of cool. But I do think that they need a couple of like big name actors on board, and they're starting shooting in January, right? So
I'm almost gonna say they're gonna go big. They're gonna go big. I think you're gonna see like some a couple leads pop up that are just gonna be like huge names.
Right.
I mean, look at Lord of the Rings and look at the people that they have attached to it. They have a lot. They had a couple major celebrity names sprinkled into that series, and then I don't want to say Orlando Bloom was a nobody before Lord of the Rings, but that was obviously one of his big franchises, and I think it's smarter.
Those movies did make those people. I mean, you're right. Those people actually did make those people. So maybe they're going that route. Maybe this is going to be a lot of like lesser known people that they're really this could be their big career break.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also quite like, I mean, I personally, like, I don't watch a ton of TV. Like, I understand a lot of these guys have been in, like, obviously films before, but also have, like, TV shows which are relatively popular. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't really know who they are, but, like, that, to me, is actually a good thing because, like, if you put, like, what's a good example? If you put Johnny Depp in a film, like, what that film's going to, roughly what Johnny Depp's going to be doing, what it's going to feel like, what the overall sort of atmosphere surrounding those characters is going to be like. Same if you put like Bruce Willis, like imagine him in a Warcraft film.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Would he
play
play
a good Garrosh though, right?
Do any of the Warcraft characters play harmonica? Because then Bruce is perfect for it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, but it's like if you have these big names, it can kind of be too much of a powerful thing within a film. So to have like, I mean, I'm sure that maybe in the States with the TV shows and stuff that these guys participate in, they're much more well known than elsewhere. And I think two of these guys are English. I think. Is that correct?
Wow,
like someone told me that they were English.
Your English is failing you right now. Your English radar is failing you.
Yeah. My English dar, let's call it. But yeah, it's been that like my Ingdar.
Yeah, like, you got Ben Foster's been on 6 Feet Under, a really popular television show. Travis Fimmel. People are really excited about Travis Fimmel from Vikings. Seems like that's
right. Vikings. Okay, yeah, that's what
everyone is like.
I'd heard of it.
Well, I mean, because he just kind of looks like he's ready for the role. I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to go.
He's like, I'm on set. I'm ready. But he's got a kind of a tiny axe, though. He kind of could use a bigger axe.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's
maybe
not World of Warcraft.
He's only level 1. He's only level.
Yeah, exactly. He just hasn't started gearing yet. His shoulders are way too small as well. Like his shield looks a bit budget.
He doesn't have any shoulder armor on, so he's pre-level 20.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just getting started, man. But I think it's cool that they've got maybe not like the huge Hollywood blockbuster names. Like maybe they don't have Colin Farrell. Maybe they do. Maybe they're about to announce them, and I'll eat my words. But like, I think it's cool that they've got smaller but still famous people.
I think I'm going to go with Pat though, because I think they do need a name or two in there. I think they need to attract. Yeah, because I think that they really need to attract the outside audience of people who really aren't into World of Warcraft and people who think it's kind of geeky and people who aren't really like into the world, which I know there's a lot of people playing World of Warcraft, but there's a lot more people out there that need to go see the film for this thing to actually make some money. So I think, if a Colin Farrell movie comes out, you're going to get a whole lot of people just to go see it just because he's in some epic fantasy movie.
But again, think about Lord of the Rings. They had Ian McKellen, they had Liv Tyler, they had exactly like you're saying, and I agree. Lord of the Rings had a lot of people that it made their career for them, but it also had those big names that was enough to be like, oh, I really like Ian McKellen. I'm gonna go see him play Gandalf.
For sure.
Isn't he a Sir? Isn't it Sir Ian McKellen?
Sir Ian McKellen.
I believe
you're right.
Yes. Don't forget the Sir.
My apologies.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard to say. I think most people seem somewhat excited about the list of actors. I think most people are kind of just like in the middle because there aren't a lot of people on this list that I think a lot of people have like a really great opinion on. It's like a lot of people who are like kind of in the middle. So you're just like, oh my God, this is kind of cool. Like, all right, I don't know any of these people. Like, I don't love them. I don't hate them. When they hit the, I don't know.
But these are up and comers, and who knows? Some of these actors, they might actually be doing the motion cap stuff, right? So we might not even see all of them. They might be in makeup or something like that, but they're solid actors that are relatable, and they obviously have a resume that shows that they can do action at least.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Sir Gandalf. Sorry, Sir Gandalf.
Sir Gandalf.
Doesn't Robert Kaczynski actually play WoW according to his Twitter account?
Yeah, he tweeted out at Warcraft and at Legendary that he has. I think he had 4 or 5 level 90s. Has been a DK since 3.1, but notes that he's one of the good ones.
See, here's what we need to do. DK. Here's what we need to do. He needs to go on Jimmy Kimmel, just like Mila Kunis, because you can spot a fake World of Warcraft, I play World of Warcraft player a mile away. I remember the interview with Mila Kunis on Jimmy Kimmel, and she just goes off. She starts speaking just a complete different language that he clearly doesn't understand. And to us, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, no, you really do play this game, right? You get it. Because you can teach people the right words to say and the key phrases to bring up, but you really don't. You can't speak it unless
Kimmel,
you know
Mike Schaffner. Let's get Kaczynski on Legendary. Let's go, Blizzard. Make it happen. Let's get. You can bring him on Kimmel, but get him over here as well. Like they can do the fluff, and we'll talk the serious shit.
Well, and right after he tweeted something like that, I think he also tweeted directly to TB and to Jesse Cox, and was like,
really?
"Yeah, I'm in the movie." And so he knows some of the players. So he knows some of the people, knows some of the gamers, and he's like, yeah, this is a real thing. I mean, it's like he's talking to the community already. He's talking to some of the big names.
He knows the people.
Already.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yo,
like I don't think it's really like I don't think it's really remotely important. Like for me personally, it's not really important that the actors play the game. Like, I don't think you have to play WoW to be good at acting in a Warcraft film.
Hey,
but it's nice. Like, it's nice for interaction.
I think that we're really matters. What's really cool about this, and this is kind of where it does matter, is how much Duncan Jones, it kind of showed that he might not play World of Warcraft that much anymore, but he was at least, like, big on the idea, chasing after it as a Warcraft fan when it wasn't working with Sam Raimi. So I think that the people behind the camera, the people that are controlling the movie, are the ones that need to be playing WoW. It's a nice touch to know that even the actors are being thought of and be like, if you love WoW, they're making a WoW movie for WoW fans. It just reassures us to know that the people working on it play WoW too.
Sharon wants Lindsay Lohan, which I completely think would be hilarious because every week would just be like, "What did Lindsay do on set this week?"
Oh boy!
I know. I think one of the things, like just what Mike said just then, kind of popped an idea into my head. Like they can't be making they have to make this to keep they don't have to keep WoW fans happy. Like the target audience for this film is so much broad. It has to be so much broader than just WoW fans.
Well, that's why
they have to catch everybody.
That's why I even think they chose the setting and the story that's going to be told. I think that's a very big reason of why that story is being told, because it's not really so directly tied to the game and playing the World of Warcraft.
This movie has to be like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, because it opened up Star Trek beyond just Star Trek fans and included everyone else who didn't pay attention to it. That's the way they need to approach this movie, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys think? Do you guys think they're going to do the big thing on Twitter? Everybody's been saying is they got it, and I just saw it and made me remind. But everybody's going, when are they going to announce Chuck Norris? Do you think they would do it? Because it would be like the most hilarious moment, right? The entire everyone would cheer in the audience. It would be like, oh my god! Like even if he's just like a serious, like quick thing where he just kind of like rolls up as a background kind of person with like 1 or 2 lines and like a cloak or something, I think it would be awesome.
I think like a cameo would be hilarious. A cameo and like a cameo from. Did you guys get the Mr. T ad as well? Like a cameo from Mr. T. That would like I kind of feel like that would be a cool thing for them to do.
What else is going? Who else is going to be in there?
Oh my gosh! I think it's gonna
have Ozzy play a warlock, some crazy warlock or something.
Again, the cameo though I think has to be done appropriately because there were these like kind of quick segue minute jokes in like Pacific Rim where the robot punches through a building and then like punches one of those things where like the balls get knocked back and forth. That didn't resonate with me personally. Some people loved it. But then take a look at Thor, and I was
have an emotional reaction to the balls that bounce back and forth. What?
I was trying to stay on track. I watched Thor just this last weekend, and I liked a lot of the quick little quips that they had in there, and the cameos like Captain America showing up randomly was funny. Like I think that
but they could do it. Right?
There's a science to cameos.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but just think of this really quickly, and everybody in chat room picture this. Like if Chuck walked in, right? But it's not a jokey thing. Like it's just like it's too fully in character and serious, just like a real actor. Like you don't like point it out and be like, "Holy shit, it's Chuck Norris!" He doesn't fucking do like a kung fu fucking move and like
like
jump
Stan Lee cameos.
Yeah, he's not front kicking somebody down like ridiculous. Right. He just kind of like you just see him and you're like, oh my god, it's Chuck Norris.
But that's also kind of one of the beauty parts about World of Warcraft, right? I mean, and you can take this all the way through the game is that it's always kind of made fun of itself a little bit. It's always kind of introduced some pop culture elements. It's always been a little bit lighter of a game.
Do you think they're going to go? That's a good question.
Do you think the tone?
Stuff. Do you think they're going to go with that kind of a tone though for the film? Do you think
I don't think that they'll go with. I don't think they'll go with that super lighthearted thing. But I think that introducing that gives you the flavor of what World of Warcraft is. So I think that at the heart of it, it's something that where you can have these really strong heroic moments, and yet during the quiet times you can be a little bit lighter, and you can kind of have some fun, but not necessarily take it out of that serious mode at the same time. I think you can play the balance.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like it's going to be more Lord of the Ringsy than that. Like, to me, it just seems
Hobbit,
like that
more
would be
Lord of the Rings.
I haven't seen The Hobbit, so I can't. I've read the book, but I don't know what the films are like at all. Yeah, well, I'm glad, but like I feel like it needs to be like the little in jokes that the gamers will get. They'll have to be done if they do them, they'll have to be done in such a way that it doesn't also alienate the people who don't play the game.
Right.
I think that's kind of the fit. Like a lot of the time, like for example, as someone who's not a massive movie buff, like I often don't get the references that other films make. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean they shouldn't make those references. It just means that they need to make them in a way that doesn't exclude people who don't understand them. Like, I mean, like a fine example is like actually not a film, but Family Guy. Like they have this thing on Family Guy, which I'm sure everyone's seen Family Guy at least once, where this big red thing that looks like a jug bursts through a wall and yells, "Oh yeah." And I've since found out that that's a commercial for Kool-Aid.
So good.
But I have literally no idea. Like, I didn't know that. We don't have Kool-Aid in England, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And it's just like you have to do...
Oh, no, oh, yeah!
Yeah, no idea. Way over my head. So it's just like they have to do that sort of stuff that in a way that doesn't alienate people. And like if they go too deep into the game jokes, into the Chuck Norris cameos and that sort of thing, they have to
that on stage at BlizzCon. They kind of talked about how like they're not going to go like that over the top, but there will be the subtlety of things that the player, the people on this show, and the people watching this show will be like, oh my god, did you see that? And they'll be able to point things out, but it'll never be so over the top that the average person feels alienated. Yeah, that's.
I think it'll be kind of like Star Wars, Han Solo lines. It'll be kind of quippy, funny stuff that kind of happens in those off moments where you just kind of can sit back and laugh a little bit.
Don't you really think? Don't Johnny Depp is? Oh, they're not doing Vulcan, but that'd be great. I just want them in there. They're not doing it. They're not doing that story.
I don't think they said that. I don't think they said anyone isn't. I don't think they've confirmed that anyone isn't in it. These are just the people they've confirmed so far.
Right.
Could Vol'jin be in the story that they're doing? I don't know.
I don't know. I was just about to say, like, we need Missy to tell us in chat whether Vol'jin would even be in this. So. I don't know that he would be. It's way back.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's way before his time.
It's not even close, but still, I don't know. I just want to see that because it'd probably be good. All right.
Yeah. I just want to see a film with Vol'jin in it, you know? Okay, what's your point?
Johnny Depp as Vol'jin. That's it. Really
I just see Johnny Depp play Vol'jin in a sort of Trolls of the Caribbean kind of film.
Trolls of the Caribbean. Whoa.
Awesome.
All right, let's talk about some other stuff. So, also this week there was a new mount that was data mined, the Iron Skyweaver. The Iron Skyweaver. That was
which is misnamed at the start of the video. Sorry.
Oh yes, it is actually. You're right. So we got to see the concept art at BlizzCon. What do you guys think? I like this one.
I think it's awesome. The 2 heads. It's got 2 heads. How cool is that?
It's got 2 heads and all kinds of spiky armor and a rocket pack or something on the back.
It's got like jet engines or something, and it's run at like I think we'll see its run animation in just a moment.
Things can we throw on? There's like jet engines, spikes, 2 heads, and I don't know.
Yeah, the run animation is just like look at that.
That looks all right.
I think it's kind of cool.
I'm not one who's usually even the way it walks looks okay. All right,
it's pretty awesome. Look at Mike Shaftnit, hater of all mounts. Look at him, he's coming around.
As long as I don't have to pay money for this. Wait.
Oh yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do you?
Everyone thought this was going to be a collector's edition mount, possibly, or like a 10th anniversary reward. But it's actually it's been data mined and it's shown up in the in-game store on the PTR.
Yeah, which is weird. Like, it's I don't know whether it like that. I don't know whether we can take like obviously it's data mining, so you know we have to kind of like treat it accordingly, pinch of salt. But like also, it's really quick after the Fell Dragon. If it's coming, like, is it? We don't know that it's coming with 5.4.2 either. I suppose.
Are you getting the nickel and dime syndrome? You feel like they're like, hey, Olivia, get out your credit card.
Hey, you know how you just bought that really pretty dragon? Here's a really ugly dragon that we know you'll love. I don't know.
Soon,
like
too soon.
I don't know. Like I would be if it was buy a pet store mount. I would probably kind of have the guilt complex of, well, I just paid for a Bay Dragon. I don't know whether I should really get another one so quickly. But I kind of just assumed it would be collector's edition, like a 10th anniversary gift, or like a drop. Like it feels like such a good candidate for like the glory of the first raid in the new tier Raider mount or something like that. I just didn't expect it to be a pet store mount, so I was kind of like, oh, when it came up on the PTR.
I don't want to say this is a pet store mount. It's just let's look at the stuff that we have to kind of analyze as to where this could be. A pre-release or a pre-collector's edition mount. Have we ever received a data mining of a mount left for that this far before even? Again, I get it. You guys want to get your hopes up and think that the expansion's coming early summer. I'm going to stick to my guns and say August. But I think it's way too soon to look at this mount and say it's a collector's edition mount. So content mount. We have a lot of different types of content mount. What content could it be? I'm gonna stick to my guns again and say I still don't think we're getting another patch after 5.4 that isn't the pre 6.0 patch.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out where this is coming from if it's not a pay. Because I also agree with you that we just received the Fairy Dragon mount, so it doesn't make sense to be another pay mount. So where could this be coming from?
And look at the name. It's called Iron Skyweaver. Iron Horde. Iron. Of course, we've had a lot of iron lately, so I mean, it could just be a crock of crap. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Like, someone in chat room actually says, "Oh, the annual pass, maybe," and like that was kind of my thinking as well. Like, is this like, are they going to do the annual pass again? I mean, it's kind of a publicity nightmare for them last time, so they probably won't. But if they do, this would be the ideal. Like, I would do the annual pass for this, but mostly this, but also Reaper of Souls. And you know, I totally do that. I'd be all over that. And maybe they won't do that again, but.
Did they say I thought they said at BlizzCon they had no future plans for another annual pass.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm kind of disappointed. I wanted that. Reaper of Souls.
I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to figure it
out. There's not going to be an annual pass. Just bringing all the bad news. We just make shit up, Mike, and we dream.
You made Ghostcrawler leave, didn't you? It was you personally, Mike Shampett. You made Ghostcrawler leave with all of your sad news. That was it.
Yep.
All right, let's move on and talk about like some real nitty gritty stuff here. So this is fun. There's been a ton of forum discussion going on since our last show about the gear changes coming in Warlords. Lots and lots to talk about. Lots of crazy dramatic changes for everybody. We'll link all the forum posts in the show notes so you guys can go to them because they're ridiculously long, so we can't really kind of go through. We're just going to go through some of the.
I didn't have the heart to make Gary read them all.
You should have.
You'd be here till like Friday afternoon with him just being like, "Oh my god, this is like a 3,000 word post."
47 pages of just quote
Imagine
cards.
the number of quote cards I'd have had to make if I'd done that.
Right. Would have been awesome.
So the five major points here. Primary stats now change with your spec. Hit, expertise, dodge, and parry are gone. New secondary stats are added. Amplify, multi-strike, and readiness. All gear has a chance to have tertiary stats and be warforged. And reforging, just like Ghostcrawler, is gone.
Ooh.
Oh.
Too soon. I thought it was too soon when somebody photoshopped them on the BlizzCon stage and they put like this gone, this gone, this gone, Ghostcrawler gone.
I love that slide. That was hilarious.
That was awesome.
Like it really made me laugh.
Sorry, GC. All right, so first up, gut reaction. Without going into too much detail just yet, do you think this is better or worse of a system than what we have right now?
It's the same kind of. Not really, but kind of the same. I think overall it will feel a lot different. Like your choices will be more significant, but at the same time you're still going to be fighting for gear a little bit. And especially because the way that they're playing it all, it really opens it up for sharing gear between whoever, right? So because your main stat switches with whatever spec you're playing, you're talking about, well, hell, I just need plate gear. Well, there are 4 other people that need plate gear, and the Holy Paladin, he doesn't get crap now because, he doesn't get like every single drop every single time. So you will have a little bit more competition for some of these armor items, at least at the beginning. And then as you go down the line, there's going to be competition for like the smaller little knickknacks, like the secondary stats and stuff like that. So it could be challenging, but I think that overall it will kind of be similar to what we have now, just a different flavor of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I feel like it will be an overall improvement in the long term. I think short term, it's going to take people. It's going to be there's going to be a lot of like getting used to it. That's going to have to take place for people. Like it's not. I don't think it's going to be a super easy transition to go from like where we are right now in Siege of Orgrimmar with how gearing works at the moment, straight into like this revamped gearing. Like I think the transition is going to be hard for people just to sort of wrap their heads around how gearing works now, because it's like these are fundamental changes. There's not just a few little bits and bobs changing here. These are huge, like particularly the primary stats thing. That's a huge change. And like Pat says, I think the ramifications of it, particularly for guilds who, like anyone who's sort of a raid guild that isn't so super hardcore that they can just be like, right, here is our loot cancel. This is what is happening. That's it. We're done anyway, carrying on. And like actually really lay out a plan. I think that's going to be problematic there.
Well, you got to remember that they're also changing the systems a little bit when it comes to more casual guilds. So you're talking about guilds that are going to be doing normals and heroics.
Yeah.
What are flex and normal now? So normals and heroics, they are going to be at the raid leader's discretion. You will be able to turn on personal loot, which is incredible. So if you are a super casual guild, most likely you're switching people in and out, at will, any given night. So you might want to say, you know what, let's just do personal loot. Then that way we won't have any drama, we won't have any problems. And so for those guys, they do have at least that option to.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like at first, like particularly for 10-man guilds, although it's actually with the new system, I think actually for 10-man, obviously with mythic raiding, it's not so great, but for 10-man guilds and smaller end guilds, I think the new system is actually a vast improvement just because of the way the primary stats shift. Because I mean, it's likely, like particularly, like take my 10-man raid team in the EU side, for example, as an example. We often have we don't have a holy pally. We haven't had a holy pally for yonks, so we like intellect fate is loosest to us and has been for some time. We have only one agility mail wearer in our entire like raiding characters in the guild. And so like agility mail is completely useless to us. We have like 3 resto shaman of the raiding members of the guild. So we always want intellect mail. We have also got 2 elemental shaman. And it's just like, well, with the new gear system, it's actually going to be way better for 10-man guilds. And I also feel like personal loot, particularly for those kind of guilds which you're just talking about, where they're the more casual guilds, I think early on, some like particularly 10-man guilds would do well to actually switch on personal loot and just be like sure that they're going to get stuff that drops for the people who are there. But I also feel like it's unlikely that you're going to get any drop now that can't be used by someone. Like it's not so hard to say bring 4 armor classes to a raid.
Right.
So I want to talk real quick about another part of this that I'm a little bit excited but concerned for. So obviously the return. I swear if I see that Debbie Downer card, I'm gonna.
Oh, are you gonna be a Debbie Downer again?
Get it ready, Gary.
No, I'm not.
Get it ready, Gary.
I'm not gonna be a Debbie Downer. So here's the thing. They talked about how, let's just say, they can bring back cleave sets. That's the idea of these tertiary stats. Are going to add cleave, so you can build that cleave set if you want. So you can build the cleave set if you want, and I think that's great. I think that opens up the idea of allowing people to do that if they so choose. What's even better is that they can now fine-tune the heroic or the mythic experience around the fact that you have to say your tank has to have cleave or your mage has to have cleave. You have to have a cleave set to do this fight because people wanted that. They wanted resist fights. They wanted cleave fights. They wanted these really big fights, and now they can design that in the mythic difficulty through these tertiary stats. The problem with it that I don't like is that the fact that it's so the fact that it's so random, the fact that you can't say we go kill the first boss in Maradon or whatever the case may be, the fact that you have to just go keep killing bosses at random to maybe get a piece of gear with cleave, I think is going to hurt that idea of like, let's design a cleave set for a cleave fight, but you have to have one because you can't count on it. You can't just say if we kill this guy enough times, the plate will drop. No, the plate has to drop with the right stats, which will ultimately, in a good way, make it a lot longer to get through, but a lot more random, and will cause problems because people can't just grind things out forever to try and get that kind of gear to do those kinds of fights.
Yeah, they kind of specifically said that you won't be able to grind out a cleave set, that you won't be able to grind out a move speed set. Like they've actually made the chance of even getting tertiaries, if I understood correctly, and Pat, like jump on me if I didn't understand correctly. The chance of getting any tertiaries on gear is 10%.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty rare, and even Lore in the chat room, he said that you would have to be extremely lucky to get any sort of set out of it. So tertiaries are supposed to be rare.
Josh also just said we're not going to design any encounters with the idea that people will farm a full set of tertiary stats to complete it. That's just nuts. So okay, so they won't be designing the mythic encounters.
I think
it's not as big of a problem as what I thought it would be.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like there's like Crypto mentioned in his post this notion of the long tail gearing route, like the idea that it's actually going to take you some time to be fully geared. And I think like you hit upon that in what you were just saying. And I think that to me is like a big and important criticism here. Like it's better to be farming gear than it is to be farming nothing. Like it's better to be killing a boss again and again and again and actually having the hope of getting something out of it than it is to not be. But to me, like just a personal thing, I'm going to have this notion of always having this monkey on my back of, oh, you're not actually geared.
Well,
and like that to me is horrible. But that's just me. That's me.
especially when you look at sites like Ask Mr. Robot or something like that, and they have all the gear that's kind of listed as best in slot, right? So they'll just kind of go through and they'll have all the gear, and they'll just say, oh yeah, and by the way, you should, if you can get this with Cleave, that's going to be better than if you don't have it at all, and so then that's better. Then you look at it and you go, damn it, I really need to get that. Because as soon as somebody says that it's out there, you're like, oh, well, it's my best in slot. Then that's the one that I'm really going to be going for. So, but that's going to be so tough to be able to get. I think that people need to understand that gearing is going to be really different, quite a bit different in Warlords.
And this is kind of what I mean. Like, there's going to have to be a massive mentality shift to sort of accommodate this new method of gearing. And I honestly, like, I think the idea behind it is admirable, but I don't think it's going to happen quickly. And that's kind of what I was getting at when I was saying that I think the transition is going to be really hard, is that people are going to go into Warlords still with their best in slot lists, still with Ask Mr. Robot, still with, you know, what else even does that now? What else even makes best in slot lists? There must be other places.
There must be.
Yes, there must be. I don't know what they are, but there must be other places.
There are lots.
But like, what? Did you actually say one then, or did you just say just there are lots?
No, there are a lot. I mean, there are a lot of different websites that have, you know, best in slot for, you know, a particular class or a particular spec or, you know, whatever. So
yeah,
sure. Let's get into the primary stat issue. Like, first of all, like, why do you guys think that they're actually like? Why do you think the devs are going down the road of the primary stats changing?
I honestly think it's just to get rid of the notion of things like intellect plate. I think it's to make gearing more streamlined and to make it easier for guilds which maybe don't have every spec and armor type like represented in their group, so they can still get loot and use all the loot that they get. Fewer pieces get sharded, and it sort of feels better when you're not sharding things constantly. I think that's... Well,
and also it's about off spec, right? So I mean, if you really want to talk about, you know, coming from a healer's perspective, I really love this change because now I can play whatever I want to on my druid. I can do whatever the hell I want and be at least okay at it. And that was always the struggle for me. You know, I mean, I would build up all this great resto gear, and then I would say, well, I want to do some solo content, but to do that, I want to play Feral because I mean that's like the easiest way to do solo content, really.
It's true.
And so. But in order to do that, then I have to build up a second set. So, so I mean, this kind of helps out with that anyway. So you should be able to get at least the main parts of your gear, so you can be okay at an off spec, no matter what that off spec is.
Think about the money you're gonna save. Holy cow! If I want to have a tank set, a DPS set, a PvP set, and then also maybe heal for my team, that's 4 full gear sets that have to be gemmed and enchanted and all that. Holy cow.
Yeah, for sure.
I've just spent every dime that I've stolen out of my guild bank. Like,
Mike Shaffnet robs his guild bank. Wow, Mike Shaffnet, that's a new low even for you. But it's, I do think there's still the potential there of having to say, you know, you do have to, like, I mean, say, for example, hypothetical situation, I played Resto Enhance. Like, I'd be like, yes, finally, my gear changes from intellect to agility. This is awesome. Like one of the biggest reasons why I've never played as an enhanced shaman is because Resto and Ellie gear works across the 2 specs so well. Yeah. Like, I can be a good healer and a kind of okay-ish elemental shaman with the same gear. Like, and then the problem will come when you need different secondaries. So I still think that, like, and I was actually having a conversation with Celestalon on Twitter about this earlier, and his response was, well, much less gear is going to be sharded in this new system. So there's going to be a lot more gear floating around for off specs and which want different secondary stats and that sort of thing. So that's definitely, you know, that's a good thing. But I do think that we're still going to be called for second, like, there's still going to be people who were going to be farming second sets for their off specs if it just so happens that your main spec really loves mastery and haste, but your off spec really loves multi-strike and crit for whatever reason. Sure. And I mean, sure, there's also an argument for keeping those stats within a reasonable tolerance of one another, but I don't think that's possible.
I think the real key on all of that stuff, though, is going to come with there's 2 types of gear that they talk about in this big long post that Crypto talked about, and it was armor versus non-armor pieces. So armor pieces are all of your tier pieces, your belts, your boots, that sort of thing, and your non-armor pieces are your rings, cloaks, necklace, trinkets, that sort of thing. So I think when it comes down to it, that's where you're going to see the farm. You're going to see a real farm for those non-armor pieces, because those are going to have like these big bonuses to crit or haste, or whatever secondaries are coming up, whatever new ones they're creating. And this is where it can get kind of interesting, and this is where a lot of the selection can be more meaningful to characters, or at least that's the way it was presented to me. That's kind of where I'm coming at it, especially when it comes to like Spirit. Spirit is one of those things that is coming up that sounds really like it could be an interesting choice, instead of, hey, you have to have it on all of your non-armor pieces, which is the only place where Spirit's going to show up. Instead of saying, oh, you have to have it on all your non-armor. Now, I believe in the post they said, you won't have to do that. To be an effective healer, you will not have to have Spirit on everything that you possibly can.
Yeah, and I think like Spirit is a stat which has an interesting discussion surrounding it, because there's been we were actually going to talk about this a little bit later, but there's been a lot of to and fro about Spirit as a secondary stat, where like actually with Ghostcrawler. So he's sort of been saying, well, no, Spirit is going to be. He clarified that it was only going to be on these like non-armor pieces, so your necklace, your rings, your trinkets, your weapons, and your cloak would be the only things that have Spirit on them. And I kind of feel like it's a double-edged sword for them. So if they made Spirit the healer's primary stat, that offers you no flexibility at all. It's sort of like, it's just going to be like a really difficult thing for them to deal with, as right. Like, part of the fun of being a healer is saying, all right, like personally, I tend to play with really, really low Spirit, and I then will sort of play slightly differently accordingly, whereas other healers, like I was looking at an elemental Resto Shaman Exclusive on the Armory today, which had 10k more Spirit than I did, and I have 12k. So this guy had like almost double the Spirit that I have, and like that's just indicative of how different people like to play Resto Shamans differently. And it's an interesting choice. It's an interesting choice for healers to make that decision, which is why it's good for them to have it as a secondary stat. But I still think that the sort of what you were saying about the healers having the option there is that's where the problem's going to lie, because like imagine say that there's 10 bosses, each boss drops a ring, and 2 of those rings have Spirit on them. Those then become the healer rings.
Right.
And if you're a healer in a guild that is maybe not that forward-looking with loot, you might have trouble arguing your case for rolling on anything else.
Right. And that is one of those. Wow. All right. So yeah, the one thing, that's the thing that's going to be sharded, right? So I mean, that's the thing that you're going to find you're going to have too much of at some point down the road, is the Spirit stuff, because now you with hit being gone, none of the intellect casters, DPS guys, those guys will not need Spirit because it won't double as hit. So,
yeah, like hit is gone. So you've got to remember that hit is like completely absent, and they've been very, very, very clear that there's not going to be a conversion from Spirit to anything else. So Spirit is going to be completely useless for anyone that isn't a healer.
Right.
All right, I want to move on and talk about some haste and stuff like that. But first, I got to tell you guys about Shutterstock.com. If you guys not checked out Shutterstock, you need to. If you got a website, guild website, YouTube page, whatever you got, you need to check out Shutterstock.com and give it a look-see looks. Why? Because you can make your stuff look amazing with Shutterstock.com. We use it all the time. And just recently, I was messing around with our Facebook page, and I was like, I'm kind of bored with the Facebook top bannery thing there, and I wanted to change it over the weekend. I was like, I'm going to change it like once a month or once a week. So I started looking for some fun vector stuff, and don't ask me why. Well, maybe you know why. I have a bulldog. I don't know. I just found this bulldog with glasses, and I was like, that's it. Why?
That's so cute.
I don't know. But again, where did I go?
This is the answer to my Facebook page. This is what Gamebreaker needs. Actually, it's pretty adorable.
This is what it needs. It needs a bulldog with glasses. I don't know why. It makes absolutely no sense. Isn't this a video game site? Yep,
you found inspiration. You were struck by inspiration.
That's exactly
while browsing Shutterstock.
It's exactly what happened. I just started searching for stuff. I was looking for vector artwork, and I made this like geeks like section out, and I started looking at icons and stuff, and this is the one I pulled out. I was like, boom, done right there. Again, I couldn't draw this. It's cool. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of artwork like this and more on Shutterstock by really great artists. I mean, I could never draw that. So if you're looking for like a mascot, icons, Maybe you need stock photography or stock footage for your YouTube page, your guild website, whatever you need. You need to go check out Shutterstock. And I want to save you guys 25% off on your account. All you got to do is make sure to use promo code 1213, GameBreaker1213. You'll immediately save 25% off on your account. And you don't even need a credit card to go sign up and make an account today. So go over to Shutterstock.com, sign up, make an account. Don't need a credit card. You can start looking for stuff, get some inspiration. Maybe you'll find, I don't know, a llama with glasses, and it'll strike you. And you will be sold because... There's
just anything with glasses. Anything with glasses.
Yeah.
It's great.
He's cute. Look at him. He's got one little lazy eye.
He's adorable.
He is. Just another way we use it. Use it every day. Check it out. Save you guys 25% off. 25% off. GameBreaker 1213. Shutterstock.com. So let's go back and talk about the haste caps. Haste caps are out, gone, in the past. Liv, what's going on with this? I mean, what explain, break this down.
Yeah, like this was something that Celestalon was this is something that Celestalon was talking about on Twitter, and it all got a little bit technical. So the way that, and I actually had to do some research on it because I thought I understood how haste worked with dots, but it actually turns out that
remember who you're talking to here, right? Like, all right, so just
yeah.
I feel like this, so just
yeah. All right, so I thought I knew how this stuff worked, but it turns out I was wrong, and I've actually found out, and I know exactly what's going on. So let me just break it down for the Minecraft man. So say you had a 15-second dot on your target, and for hypothetical maths reasons, it ticked once every second for 15 seconds. So when you increased your haste, that would actually make the distance between your dot ticks shorter, which made the overall dot get shorter and shorter and shorter. And at some point, it would be short, like the distance between those ticks would be short enough that another tick would fit in the 15-second window. So that's a haste break point. So that's the point at which you get an additional tick of your dot. But before that, it just gets shorter and shorter and shorter with haste, the distance between the dot ticks. So what they're doing instead of this old system is they're actually saying, all right, so you have got at the end of your 15-second window there, that gap's getting longer because all the stuff that's happening before it is getting shorter. So instead of waiting until you've actually got 100% of the gap in there, we're going to say, all right, you've got half the amount of time on there needed to get an additional dot tick in because your haste has decreased the distance between the dots so much. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you half a tick. And if it's a quarter, we're going to give you a quarter of a tick. And if it's 3/4, we're going to give you 3/4 of a tick, and so on and so forth. So by doing that, they've effectively removed haste caps, which is actually pretty cool because that was something that was really tiresome as someone who plays a hot class or a dot class to actually have to deal with.
Yeah, as a resto druid, yeah, I saw it in the chat room. Somebody said haste caps can suck it, and I totally agree with that. They could totally suck it.
Yeah, for sure. As a resto druid, oh my god, as a resto druid, you just must be like, yes!
It's all haste
Screw
caps.
You, haste caps!
That's right. It's all haste caps. That's all it is. It's just haste. So I am so happy that this is out there because, well, and that makes a lot of sense because with the way that gearing is working for warlords, it's going to be tough to get those numbers to fall exactly where you want them, right? Because there's no more reforging. So you won't be able to get them exactly where you want them. Now you can just relax a little bit and say, "I've got enough."
Yeah, and it doesn't it's going to be an interesting thing for actually stacking haste because by removing haste, like at the moment when you're stacking your haste, you're like, all right, I'm shooting for this cap, and I know what happening over there. I know what this number is, so I'm going to shoot for that number. And like, say it's 5,000. So right, I'm going to go to 5,000, and then I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go anywhere past that because it's just useless. Like I'm not going to hit the next breakpoint because it's so far away. Like it's silly even to try. Whereas now you can just keep stacking haste and stacking haste and stacking haste. Like hypothetically speaking, like God knows whether this will actually happen. But hypothetically speaking, you could just keep stacking haste forever. Like and there's no point at which you're like, actually no, I should stop stacking haste here because I'm not going to get any additional benefits. Right. So it's kind of, I mean, you're the one who plays a resto druid.
That's all I've done as a resto druid is just stack haste. What are you talking about? That's all I've done.
It's so great as a resto druid to know that you have to deal with it. As a feral, I don't even think about it. That's my last stat. I'm just like, haste?
Yeah.
Screw you.
Right.
Get out of here. I'll reforge you into nothing. I don't care.
Good.
All right, so
Yeah,
with hit, all right, so with hit gone, expertise is gone, haste cap's gone. Why remove reforging at all?
Well, it's a good question. Like, that's kind of what I'm wondering as well. Like, I know if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen that I've sort of been tweeting a little bit today at Celestalon and some other people about, like, I'm slightly baffled as to why they're removing reforging, and I understand it's part of their whole policy about, we're just making gear easier. We don't want you to have to get this piece of gear and think, I've got to do X, Y, and Z to it to make it interesting, etc., etc. And I also know that if you're a DPS who mostly plays one spec, that reforging wasn't that exciting. It was just a case of downloading some numbers and plugging them into Reforginator and clicking a button or Reforge Lite or your chosen reforging add-on. Ask Mr. Robot. And I can understand that wasn't much gameplay, but I feel like the boring bits of reforging are being removed. And that was hitting expertise caps, hitting haste break points, and also hitting hit caps. So it's just like, I'm kind of confused. Like, I don't see now what I think reforging now is just going to be interesting stuff. Like, do I want to go heavy into crit, or do I want to favor haste? And maybe it's just because I play healers and tanks, and we've had a lot more variability in our specs throughout Mists of Pandaria and indeed prior to that. And maybe that's just my own personal viewpoint because of the specific roles that I play. But I kind of feel like, and also with the way that the gear is going to be dropping now, where the secondary stats aren't flexible but the primary stats are, like, you're going to be at the mercy of the RNG boss a little bit less if reforging stays in. So, and like with the long tail gearing thing as well, like, you're going to get these Warforged tertiary, like, gem slots are kind of a luck thing as well, according to Celestalon. So if you have this perfect piece, then you can reforge it and make it even better, and it sort of takes the pressure off people to seek out that one thing. And no, I'm kind of like about the removal of reforging.
It sounded to me like at BlizzCon, the thing that they really wanted people to do was, when they won loot, put it on and fight with it. That is the main thing that I got from that whole armor discussion at BlizzCon, was, hey, we're kind of taking away, some gems slots and some enchants, and we're going to be stripping this down a lot, and we're going to be stripping down your choices, make these choices fairly interesting, and meaningful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you will be able to win loot, put it on, and go fight with it, and not care about anything else. You'll just be able to go play.
And part of the problem with that, prior to when we got reforging, was the fact that obviously it was hit capped. I could be an ICC and I get an awesome weapon. Weapon was a no-brainer. I'd get an awesome wrist guard, but by putting it on, I couldn't add an enchant of enough hit. Obviously, it had to spiral out of control, but for example, I get bracers. I equip them. I no longer have my hit cap.
Yeah.
Well, crap, how do I get my hit? Like, I have to be hit cap, so I can't equip these bracers. So they added reforging so that you could. But now that they're getting rid of hits and all these other problems, you can get more satisfaction and benefit of, like, hey, it's a better item, and I can equip it without freaking out. Yes, my mastery might change. Yes, my crit might change. Yes, my agility might change. But they're probably trying to design it so that it's all for the better.
Right. And it all sounds like it'll be interesting and something that people will actually want to play with, maybe, as they go through the raids, or whatever you're doing. So it could be really interesting to see what changing out a couple of different pieces of gear will actually do for your performance.
Yeah, I suppose, like, to me, it seems like they're adding flexibility, but also removing it. Like, I'm always like, because I count myself as among the unlucky players with gear drops. Like, for example, so I've got 2 max level raid geared Restoration Shaman right now. One on the US side, one on the EU side. So my US Restoration Shaman has been super lucky with drops. Like, I've only really been doing flex with her, and she's seriously got every offhand available from Siege of Orgrimmar twice. My EU Resto Shaman has only ever had a pair of bracers and a hat. Like, my Resto Shaman on the US side has her 4-set. My Resto Shaman on the EU side has 1 piece of her 4-set. And it's like, like, for those bad luck situations where you're getting the wrong gear all the time. Reforging just made that blow a little bit lighter. I mean, I guess the answer is to make sure that stats are within a tolerance of each other, and it's not that, like, it's not going to make you just terrible if you have the wrong one. But it still feels to me like I'm still worried. Like, I haven't heard anything yet to stop me worrying about the removal of reforging.
Well, and you were talking about all the gear that you've won and all that kind of stuff, but you still don't have your headpiece from Ordos, do you?
Of course not. I haven't done that legendary quest chain. Why would I bother?
Of course not.
And I won't get it anyway. See earlier note about being unlucky. I'll get Derevka's belt
Olivia.
38 times.
Olivia, I'm just going to say this again. I've said it before. The ultimate solution to the unlucky this drought for this character, but not this character, is play one character.
Yeah, really. And if I played just my EU shaman, what would I get?
What's going on amongst healers? They're all chatting about the spirit becoming a secondary stat.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. So the big thing has been this notion of spirit as a primary stat versus spirit as a secondary stat, and the question of like it's kind of what we were talking about just now with flexibility. Like, do you want to have the flexibility of spirit, and it's going to make like the additional points adding in much more significant. So Pat brought this up earlier on. He's saying that basically what they're saying with spirit is that it's the same for armor with tanks. So your base spirit is going to be an awful lot higher. So each point of spirit you're adding on is going to mean a lot more. And we were talking earlier about the sort of the thing of spirit on gear and like this is healer gear and, you know, good luck for the other stuff. But the big thing with which healers are worrying about was first off that spirit was a secondary stat as opposed to a primary stat. So I think when you saw BlizzCon, you kind of assumed that your primary stat as a healer would be spirit, but it's actually not the case. And as we were talking about earlier, that sort of has its pros and cons. But one of the pros of spirit as a secondary is it's makes it much more flexible, as you know, with the exception of the fact that you can't actually reforge in or out of it. But it's kind of indicative as well of what they're talking about with making all of the gear more significant. So Celestalon again on Twitter was saying all of your stamina, you'll have base stamina, but you no longer have base health. So with the exception of your base stamina, all your stamina comes off gear. All of your base damage is gone. All of your base healing is gone. All your healing comes off your primary stat, which converts into either attack power or spell power, depending on your spec, and that's where your damage comes from. So it's kind of a big drive here to make all of your gear more significant, and ensure that the primary stats really are the big deal on gear. But it's sort of like, and this, everything about this makes me more nervous about reforging because it's all more important now. Everything on gear is more important. Right. It's all part of the item squish as well.
And they're reworking everything as it goes, you know, especially with those guys in support roles. So, I mean, tanks and healers the world is going to be changing. We don't know exactly how yet, but they have to rework mana regen so that spirit can remain a secondary stat.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't rework the way that mana regens, then you would absolutely want it on every single piece of gear, just like it is right now. So they are reworking that. They're reworking the bonus armor system, and you know, the way that dodge and parry are still going to be around. They're just not going to be on gear. So it sounds like it's all going to be background stuff that you won't be able to control, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're coming into like this new world of support classes. So those guys are going to have a really some stuff to learn as we go through, but hopefully we'll still be able to play through it.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I'm kind of like, the thing with spirit is kind of it's exciting, but it's also not. Like, particularly for someone like me, I was talking earlier about the variance in spirit between myself and this other Resto shaman, and like someone tweeted at me, the other Resto shaman must be an idiot. He's definitely not. If any of the two of us is an idiot out of those two Resto shaman, spoilers, it's me. And it's just like, that's how I like to run. That's the specific build I like to run. And it's like, I kind of fear, because of each point being more significant, that we're going to have a little bit less flexibility. But there's also going to have to be a mentality change away from this notion that you can, like, as a Resto Shami, I can make a super mastery heavy build for progression fights where everyone's sitting at low health a lot of the time. I can no longer do that in Warlord. So I'll just have to take what I can get, and I'll have to try and get another set of gear that's mastery heavy, or another set of gear that's got a ton of crit on it, or another set of gear that's got a ton of haste on it. and it's just going to be there's going to be a huge mentality change there, and it's going to be really interesting.
This is a ton to take in for everybody to understand.
It really is. And I'm trying to keep an eye on chat room to see if people are keeping up with what we're talking about, and it's just like it is so much change to take in. Mike Shaffer's gone to sleep because he can't be a Debbie Downer about anything.
Healer stuff, I'm done. Healer, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting changes that are coming for Warlords, and I think that everybody who plays a support class should absolutely read the post that Crypto put up. I think that all the people that are actually, if you're planning on playing in Warlords, just go read the damn thing now, because it's an interesting read, and it means that there's a lot of changes coming up. So get ready.
With all this being said, Pat, I mean, running a guild, you guys run a pretty large guild over there, I hear.
Yeah, it's kind of huge-ish.
It's a couple people playing. But what do you think this whole is the new system? Is it going to lead to loot drama for like less hardcore guilds, things like that?
It can, and it can do it for any size team, really. I think when you start getting into hardcore teams, that they will probably be okay because they will have a plan in place. But yeah, for those less hardcore folk, they may find some troubles, especially in the opening weeks. I think we touched on this earlier, but there is the system where you can switch the loot, so everybody can rest easy and say, hey, you know what? We're going to go to individual loot system, just like what Flex is right now. We'll be A-okay. Everybody just gets what they get, and I think it's like a 10-15% drop rate for getting something off of that system, but it's yours, and that's nice, and then you won't be screwing somebody else out of something, or there won't be hurt feelings and all that kind of stuff. It's better than slash roll in some cases, especially for those really not competitive teams. So
I want to touch on one more thing before we move on. Celestalon also tweeted that gem slots will mostly be random chance. I think a lot of people are thinking that just are they removing too much player choice from the game?
Well, that is
how much. Go ahead. How much of it is player choice? When you really cut down to the brass tacks of, like, you get a red socket, you know exactly what's going in that red socket. It's not a choice.
It's a choice, Mike.
It's not.
Red. You can choose red, or purple, or orange. You have 3 choices.
No, you don't. Not if you want to raid. You know what you're putting in that slot. It's not a choice.
Is that maybe why? That's maybe why they're doing it then.
I think that's probably some of it. I mean, that's got to be some of it. The other thing is that we were talking before about, you win loot, you put it on, you go play. That's kind of the new mentality, at least as I see it, going forward, or at least for the most part. There are going to be they're stripping down enchants as well, so gems, enchants, and the people that are playing these professions right now, the JCs and the enchanters out there, are kind of nervous because they're like, okay, well, how am I going to make money? And I think that there was a tweet earlier this week from somebody somewhere. I mean, I know that's really specific, guys. So
there was a tweet on
it's probably on Twitter, Pat.
There was something on Twitter from somebody important, much more important than I am, and they said that they're trying to rework the professions to make sure that those guys will have something interesting to give to the conversation, so that they won't just be like, out of luck when it comes to making any sort of money for themselves in Warlords, because they can't sell gems.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, I don't know. Like, I have dual crafting. Like, I got really into playing the auction house in Late Cataclysm, and it set me up pretty well for Mists. But like, I made a ton of money dual crafting, and not that much of it was related. It was more related to just prospecting and turning around materials, and that will be effective. But I don't remember signing up like a contract with Blizzard saying that dual crafting would always earn me a ridiculous quantity of gold. So there's that.
Right.
And but sure, like, I can understand.
They're going back on that contract now.
That contract that they signed with me, like, dear Olivia, as long as you learn dual crafting, you'll always be wealthy in the world of Warcraft. Yeah. Like, there was no agreement there. But it's like, sure, but they're also putting in things like maybe dual crafters can make wands, or maybe enchanters can make weapons, something along those lines. It's going to be interesting to see. And it's also going to be interesting to see how they rework some of the profession bonuses, like with what Celeste Long was saying today on Twitter, but that most gem sockets would be like pure luck. Like you wouldn't be sort of guaranteed to get gem slots on anything. Like they would be mostly just luck, which I find kind of scary and frightening from a sort of gearing standpoint as well.
What do you do then when you get a random drop? It's like, okay, shoulders, they got a red socket on them next week. Shoulders, same shoulders drop, but this time you have cleave on them.
Yeah, it's weird. Like that's going to be that, and that's sort of part of the thing that I think is going to be dramatic and interesting. And like Pat's going to be the best person to comment on whether this is going to cause like more additional drama for guilds. But I don't know, like what happens then if you're in an EPGP or a DKP system? We had to get it in there somewhere. Like an EPGP or a DKP system, do you like think, oh, okay, well I'll take the one with the blue slot. I'm not going to hold out for a red slot. Like,
right.
You know.
Right. Best in slot is going to be weird. I mean, it's just going to be weird, and hopefully the system that you play in, whatever it is, your team will be able to have kind of. I think you'll probably need some sort of, not necessarily, absolute loot council, but somebody looking out and just making sure that everybody's kind of getting, spread the wealth a little bit on gear.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the PvP gear? What's going on there?
Well, now that is the interesting question.
There we go.
And the honest answer is that they've been conspicuously quiet about PvP gear. Conspicuously quiet about what exactly they're going to do with PvP gear. So it can go one of two, like we look at the extremes, because of how PvP gear works, where it's bought with tokens, it can kind of go one of two ways. And once I finish talking, I bet you'll be able to guess which one I'm hoping for. So, that Helenka music. Like, it'll either go the route of, all right, here's the male set, enjoy the secondaries, because they're all you get. Because, that male set which you buy for conquest points can now be equipped by any male wearer. Gone are the days of this is the elemental set, this is the restoration, this is the enhanced set, this is the hunter set, this is the, more different like choices here coming out for people. And now they can just be like, well, here's the male set, have fun. And I really hope they don't go that route, and I don't see how they can with things like Spirit, because unlike tanks, healers still need PvP gear. So I think they're going to go more in the opposite direction of being, but they can't go the whole way the other way, of being like, right, here's the male set. We have made sure to include varying and equal numbers of every different secondary stat in all kinds of permutations for you to choose from. So it's going to be really interesting just to see how these work. I'm really hoping, I'm crossing everything to try and ensure that they don't do the tertiaries in PvP.
Oh, God. No, that would be...
Can you imagine?
Oh.
Like if they did tertiaries on PvP gear? I feel like PvP gear, because of the way you get it is so much more predictable, that it needs to be more standardized. Like tertiaries need to not be a thing in PvP gear.
But then what about the idea that's a level of custom? Okay, movement speed is a customization. I see what you're saying. I don't disagree, but movement speed. As a feral druid, I highly value movement speed. It's a huge stat for me. So
anyone in PvP values movement speed.
But some people might rather, instead of saying, you know what, I'm not playing for a mobile gameplay, I'd rather have the cleave. Or I'd rather have, I forget what the other ones are. They can't...
Reduced fall damage, I think, is going to be a little bit worthless. Or no durability loss.
They can't, well, yeah, that one is worthless. They can't exclude those, because that level of customization needs to be in PvP as well.
Yeah, I know. I kind of feel like adding tertiary stats to PvP gear would be a bad idea overall. It's sort of, I feel like PvP gear needs to be more standardized than PvE gear, but then the risk is that people will just start wearing their PvE gear. It's also worth mentioning that we're actually talking about the normal ladder at the moment, but there is the Trial of the Gladiator, which is the new ladder coming in where you'll be tournament rules, so you'll just get all the gear. We spoke about this on the last show, so we don't have the time to go into it in detail right now, but if you want more detail on that, do go and check out the week before last show. But that's just going to be standard gear, so you rock up, you do something, and you get gear. So that's not going to be such a huge deal. On the normal ladder, it's still a thing, and I think that they have to be really careful to make sure that there's not stuff that's going to benefit people. Like, for example, Mike's example of run speed is really important for melee. It's also important for casters to get away. Cleave is always good for healers. Like, I think they're going to have to not put cleave in the game because of how unbalanced it would be for healers. Like, you know, you're a DPS, you want cleave for AoE and single target. But for healers, cleave is always good. So I think they're gonna have a bit of a hard time with that as far as PvP goes.
This conversation hurts my brain. It really does. I mean, you know, it's very interesting. It's very cool. Yeah, exactly. Actually, put up the Minecraft dude. That's a better one. But I mean, it really does hurt my brain because they've introduced these tertiary stats into the equation, and it makes things much more interesting. That's for sure. But also more confusing. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But at the same time, theory crafting about it now is relatively impossible. You know, I mean, people can freak out a lot when they see all these changes and stuff like that. They can really freak out. Take a breath, everybody. It's okay. It's okay. We've got a long way to go.
Says it's all right, people. Take a breath.
Pat Crane says chill. Yeah, chill. I know. I hope that they don't mess up PvP gear because it's not been in that great a spot this expansion. Just saying.
All righty, peeps. Let's do some viewer questions. If you guys got viewer questions, send them in to submit@gamebreaker.tv, or you keep an eye on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/gamebreakertv, or our Twitter. And we love the video questions, and we've got one to kick it off today. Here you go.
Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis, once again coming from you inside the car.
First, I'm going to say, not
dangerous.
The safest thing in the world. Just, driving and sending Legendary, please be careful.
Please send questions to Legendary responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis, once again coming from you inside the car.
Watch the top left corner. The footage is stabilized. You can totally see like the image moving, like you even put it through a stabilizer before sending it in. Just saying. That's dedication.
That's yeah. Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis.
He totally did. Everybody's like, what did! People are like, what are you talking about?
We're never going to
No, I'm dead
We're just going to talk about the
did.
video stuff.
We're going to talk about the After Effects that he ran this thing through to stabilize it out.
Exactly.
Nerds.
Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis, once again coming from you inside the car. Yeah.
Hey, who uses vertical video in this day and age? Don't you know how to turn
He literally went to all that trouble and still used vertical. He went to all that trouble.
Don't you turn it?
There's an awesome video called Vertical Video Syndrome by a YouTube channel called Glove and Boots, where they specifically talk. They're like, people, it's not that hard. Just go like this. And it's the most hilarious thing, and like one of the best videos on the internet.
Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis, once again coming from you inside the car.
Gary's now trying to think of something else to say.
What's up? So I got a question for you guys.
Well, I'm trying to wonder if like he's got a 2+2+2 whiptail coming on the side right down the. Can't tell. Is that his hair coming down the?
Yeah, I don't know. Wow.
Hey, Gamebreaker, this is G That Lock from US Mal'Ganis, once again coming from you inside the car. Yeah. What's up? So I got a question for you guys. So what do you guys think about Pures getting a rework? Warlock's got a really awesome rework. Now every spec feels different, whereas rogues and hunters, not so much with mages, they feel somewhat the same. So what I was wondering, do you think it's time for a rework on pure classes like rogues and hunters? I don't necessarily play either one of those classes, but I play with rogues and hunters in my 25-man raid, and they all say the specs feel somewhat similar, and I think that it's time for that to change, so every spec has some customization of some type.
Turbulence.
But that's
all
all
breaking up now.
Team Cheesecake, exists to people. What's up? Take care. Bye.
All right, what do you guys think? What do you think of pure DPS classes getting a rework like Warlocks got?
I'm just glad we made it through the damn question. I mean, really, to be honest. No, I think that I think rogues probably do need a little bit of a rework. I know that some of the rogues that I've talked to, they're like, yeah, that would be good. Hunters are okay, maybe. I don't know. They're still fun to play. I still like to play them. So, but yeah, and I think that I know that we talked about button bloat a few shows back, and I think that they're really looking at that for Warlords, and we may see some of those changes come around for the different specs as they kind of try to remove buttons.
Yeah, I see some people in chat room saying, "Oh, mages feel different." It's like, yes, yeah, they do. Like, look at. I personally don't. I've played a rogue like to level 20 twice and deleted it, so I can't pretend to be remotely an expert in like have anything to say about rogues. But from I played a hunter, and they really have like beast mastery. I guess has some additional flavor in that you can tame different different pets.
Yeah, and
you have like
more
couple of different buttons.
You have more spells for
your pets, and like the beast mastery is kind of pet focused, and like there are some subtle differences there, but the three hunter specs, like compare survival, marksmanship, and beast mastery to fire, frost, and arcane. Like mages have three specs that play pretty much completely differently. Like there's pretty substantial differences between those three mage specs, whereas hunter specs, it's pretty similar across the two. And I believe I saw again, like if you guys aren't following Celestalon on Twitter, by the way, just do that, because he is all over telling everyone everything at the moment. So I feel like every kind of answer I'm saying to everything on Legendary this week is, well, Celestalon said on Twitter. And guess what? I'm going to do it again. Celestalon said on Twitter that we're looking at some kind of, not a Warlock level revamp, but reworking for rogues and hunters specifically with Warlords. So something might be coming up there. This guy may have something going on. So who knows?
I think the only thing to add to that, because I will say I got to agree that the difference with a mage, as much as I like to push the whole one character thing, I actually do have a mage as well. I know.
What? Where's the dramatic gopher? Where's the dramatic gopher?
I've been lying all this time.
He's been lying to us all this time, Mike Schaffner. How could you? How could you? We thought you were a one-class man.
Well, buff mages, I guess. So I'll agree. I don't think I need to elaborate for exactly what you guys said. They feel completely different. The buttons on my frost bar are nothing to do with the buttons that are on my fire bar. Rogue, though, I got a rogue to back in Wrath, so that's 80. Rogue felt, again, subtle differences. It felt like obviously subtlety was more about, being able to quickly move, and assassination was just about all-out brawling and attacking. But I think the fact that it just felt like no matter what you were doing, you were still just stabbing the person. Your kit didn't really change as much as what you would when switching from fire to frost. And I think that it's just a matter of finding iconic, interesting abilities that can define themselves in those roles to distinguish themselves. Because, like I said, the fire mage rotation is fireball, fire blast, pyroblast, and then the mage is just like get your ice lance procs and then ice lance. But it's like those buttons don't carry over. But if you're playing a rogue, you're gonna make sure that you're using slice and dice, like no matter what spec you're in. So like I think it's making sure you can figure out how to adjust for that.
All right, next up, this question in from James. James says, have you guys noticed what's been happening with KRANE on the PTR? First, this KRANE phase appears, which is a cleaned up version of Some of Kara. Then it's renamed Medivh's Birthday Bash, and now KRANE 2 Electric Boogaloo. Why do you think they cleaned it up? And do you think they are changing the name to play with data miners and hide what's really going on?
I tell you, Gary, that 5% guess that I had on Lower Karazhan at the party before BlizzCon.
What, that it's going to be a raid again?
Yes. Well, I mean, my guess was about lower. It was about Lower Karazhan, but that 5% guess, at least there was a little something to it, a little slice of something, and I will take that. I will absolutely take that because I only put 5% behind it in the first place. But it's kind of cool that they're doing something with Karazhan. We don't know exactly what. And yes, they are messing with data miners, and they're having some fun, and they're trying to throw off everybody and try to make them figure out what's going on with it. But they removed cobwebs. Gary.
Yeah, really, they just literally, when he says they cleaned up Karazhan, they literally cleaned it. They went around with a feather duster and cleaned the cobwebs.
They removed...
I'm just saying, what if this is a Kansas City shuffle?
What's a Kansas City shuffle?
For those of you lucky number 11 fans who got my reference, good on you. But like, you look one way and you do something the other way. So it's, what if they're like, oh look, we're messing with Karazhan. Now while we mess with Karazhan, let's go do this over here because everyone's looking at Karazhan. Sure. We still don't know what the Dark Below is. We still have no idea what Dark Below is.
No, we do.
It wasn't even registered. Didn't they say that? That it wasn't even ever, like, it was not even a Blizzard thing ever.
Yeah, one of them was
talking. Like, it was
a
full-on hoax.
One of them was talking on the DirecTV show on the stream, talking about how that was never them. They never did anything like that. And yeah,
there goes that.
It was Jay Allen's
not that.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think that the news reporting on this has been a little bit selective because the Karazhan phase was in with a bunch of other phases on the initial data mine. So the other phases they call things like Jaina and Anduin talk in Dalaran. Like there was a bunch of different phases in there. And I think that the people who are reporting it have just picked out this Karazhan one and just been like, wow, well, this is interesting. I honestly, because of the way they keep renaming it, and someone in chat room, and I'm scrolling through chat, and I have to look down, and I feel bad because you guys are in there in the camera.
It doesn't matter. He's playing Kansas City
cool.
Shuffle.
I can't tell.
Right.
But it's been renamed again to like Medivh's Birthday Bash or something. Unfortunately, the renaming on the phone has gone too far up, so I can't see it now. But someone in chat room said it's been renamed yet again. I honestly think it was something that here's my theory on the Karazhan thing, and I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. It was in there by mistake. Nothing is happening in Karazhan, and now they're just being like, lol, let's change the name again and see if they can actually understand that this is just nothing.
Liv, they removed cobwebs. They do not do this willy-nilly. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe they started cleaning it up for something and then were like, oh, actually, we changed our mind. Again, no, I have taken the Debbie. No, I deserve this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to...
Yeah, own it.
I'm too quick for you, man. I'm too quick. I'm too fast to be a Debbie Downer.
That's funny.
Oh, here we go. Medivh presents Chessmaster, the Illustrious Edition.
Oh, nice. Nice.
They are playing with us. There's no way this is anything.
Yeah, they're totally playing with us, but it's fun. I like it.
It is fun.
Pat KRANE, follow him on the Twitter at Pat KRANE. Of course, go to convertraid.com and watch the live video of Convert to Raid right here on GameBreaker TV.
Mm-hmm.
Every single week. Always a pleasure, sir. Mike Shaftnit, follow him on Twitter at Mike Shaftnit. And make sure to watch League of Legends Waypoint on GameBreaker TV or at youtube.com/LOL Nation TV.
My best chance at an LOL.
LOL Nation TV. Olivia D. Grace, busy twittering G Street.
Trying to read chat room. I can't tell when you're on me. You saw what my screen looks like. I sent you a message on Twitter.
I haven't seen it.
Check your apps.
Uh-oh.
Follow me at Gary Gannon. Follow GameBreaker TV, and we do the show live every Thursday at 8 PST. So come on over for the live show. It's always a good time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week for some more World of Warcraft actions, and there's a new show coming after. How are we going to do the new show after Legendary, Pat, when this show goes like 9 hours?
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be a marathon. Thursday night's marathon night here on GameBreaker. It's gonna be great.
New
gonna be
show
cool.
will be coming on pretty soon after Legendary. I don't know how we're doing this, but we're doing this. All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow or next week, whatever. You should be back tomorrow. Have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you.